Hi, everyone. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll see what we can do.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I met Rachel in 2001 when we both had just moved to Chicago separately, and our friend Marjorie suggested that we meet. And I remember the day that we met. She and Dan pulled up on Michigan Avenue in Dan's white Alero, and Rachel stepped out at least a block away from me. As I walked towards her, I could see her big, beautiful smile that stands out to me still as an image in my mind. That smile was the kind of person that she was: friendly, broad hearted, welcoming, generous. We had a lot in common, so we became fast friends. As Rachel liked to describe it, she was earthy crunchy with Jap tendencies. And we both shared a common love of chocolate brown, which I'm wearing today in Rachel's honor. We did many things together, including Rachel and Dan being at my 45th birthday celebration in Little Italy, watching the marathon, me run the marathon in 2002, going to hear music together at Shuba's. Rachel and I went to hear Rhett Miller play. And also, I watched her as she picked up her dad's Hummingbird Gibson guitar and was strumming away, only to pick up electric guitar and totally nail it as the rock star that she became. I'll treasure the friendship that we had. Miss you, Rach.
Everybody's taking pictures of it this year.
Hi, this is Ashish, and with me is my wife Shmila. We wanted to share a story about how we met Rachel. We met Rachel probably 12 or 13 years ago at Seton Montessori, where our kids were going to school together. And we're incredibly grateful to have met Rachel at that time because she was always full of love and life. And I will always remember her with incredible fondness for all the love that she gave us and all the great times we had together.
I remember us going on vacation together. We took our families to Mexico and we had a fantastic time. And Rachel introduced me to a lot of great authors and we had fantastic talks. And I'm really going to miss all of those. Love you, Rachel. We'll miss you forever.
Throughout this entire ordeal, I have done my best to not let anyone feel badly for me. When people apologize for complaining in front of me for just about anything, I tell them that they have every right to complain. Everybody's got something: aging parents, lousy job, challenging kids, money, the constant compromise that is marriage. Breast cancer just happens to be my thing. I'm dealing with it just as you deal with your stuff. I am not going to let the cancer define me. It's just part of my story.
Hi, I'm Erica. I'm going to try to fit 24 years of fabulous friendship into 2 minutes, so here we go. I was fixed up with Rachel by our mutual friend Marjorie in 1996. Thank you, Marjorie. Rachel and I were fast friends. We were both in our early 30s. We were both living in New York City, and we were both on the hunt for him. Let's call a spade, right? But don't worry, it worked out. We scoured the bars. We stayed out till all hours of the night. We partied hard, and we had a lot of fun. We spent summers in the Hamptons doing summer shares. We went on vacations together, the Cayman Islands, to Israel. We just had a blast, and we laughed a ton. I got engaged first, but she got married first, and I think she did that on purpose. We had our babies, our first babies together, 4 months apart. She was still living in New York at the time, so that was really nice. But then she moved away, and we remained really close because we had built a nice, strong foundation. Rachel was super cool. She was unique, she was real, and she was just truly authentic. My life was better because she was in it, and my life will never be the same without her. and I loved her dearly. So thanks for listening, and as Rachel would say, bye-bye.
Rachel, you can say bye-bye. Rachel, say bye-bye.
Hey, Jill from New York here. So what do I say about my Rachy face? I don't know. Best friend since we're 14. Did so many fun things together. Had such a crazy ride as kids. So much fun, so many firsts. She was so smart. She wore her heart on her sleeve. She was Rach. I don't know. Just the best. The best. She loved her boys so much. She introduced me to my husband, and my 3 sons called her Aunt Rach and loved her. We really had so many stories that I've shared with the boys, and she just took me down funny paths and we laughed our faces off. She was just my everything. She was like my sister, and I miss her. And that's it. That's it.
Amidst the fear of imminent death, you come to appreciate that which is precious to you, and not the Hallmark card version of "you mean more to me than," but rather the profound connections you have made in your life, whether they be friends, spouses, children, clergy, whomever. You come to the realization that your life has greater meaning because they have been in it.
Hi, I'm Marjorie Adler, one of Rachel's oldest and best friends. We met in our early 20s through my college buddy and Rachel's childhood friend, Jill Hoffman-Willinger. Rachel and I spent the better part of that decade as partners in crime, being single together in New York. I was drawn to Rachel instantly. She was sophisticated, witty, chic, stylish, smart, gorgeous, brutally honest, hilariously sarcastic, and just a total badass. And man, could she dance. She projected toughness, but underneath was a warm, kind, and vulnerable girl in search of her soulmate, whom she later found in Dan. But back to Rachel and me. We had so much fun together. We worked near each other in Manhattan in the East 50s, she in advertising and me in publishing. We ate lunch together at least twice a week and went out together, from what my memory recollects, almost every evening. That probably wasn't the case. After all, we did have other friends besides each other, and there were lots and lots and lots of guys in our lives. And we were totally broke, so we couldn't have gone out every night. Rachel is totally responsible for turning me on to museums and helping me appreciate art. Together, we went to countless bars, restaurants, clubs, movies, and took vacations together to Fire Island, Sag Harbor, and my favorite trip of all, California. Rachel was a take-charge person, which I loved because I never had to think. She took care of all the plans and the details, and all I had to do was show up. Then I moved to Atlanta, and eventually Rachel met Dan and moved to Chicago. Rachel visited me in every apartment and house I've ever lived in, and I've lived in a lot of places, and I've been to every apartment and house she's ever lived, except California, which I regret. Anyway, our friendship continued and remained strong, but our circumstances changed drastically. We both got married a little late in life, but within a couple of years of each other, we became moms. Jack and my son Sam are only a couple of weeks apart. We've spent time together as families and found time to do our own thing as BFFs. No matter how much we had going on in our lives, we made time for each other. Even this past May, when Rachel was so sick, she managed to travel to Atlanta for Sam's bar mitzvah. I know it wasn't easy. It meant the world to me. Dan, Rachel could not have picked a better partner in love and life. You are amazing. My heart is with you. Ben and Jack, I am sorry for your profound loss. Your mom was an extraordinary woman. I know you know that. She loved you both fiercely. May her love be a powerful force in your lives as you grow up and experience life's many milestones and hardships. And to Rachel, if you are listening, I miss you. I will miss you for the rest of my life. Love you.
Welcome to Rosen Fest 2017. She could be here. We're having
Puts
a
the
great
lotion
time
in the basket.
The lotion in the basket.
Hi everyone, this is Uncle Steve and Aunt
Rita.
and we have some very fond memories of Rachel growing up when she was very small. She actually started me on my photographic career, my professional photography. She was a beautiful model, and I took wonderful pictures of her and spread them out to the family. And then when she was a teenager, Rachel and I went over to the Bidewee Pet Cemetery in Wantor. Great backgrounds, but not the tombstones. And we took some wonderful pictures there. And I used those pictures in my high school photography class, and I was teaching portraiture, and they all said, all the students said, "Who was that beautiful model you used?" And I said, "That was my niece Rachel." And Rita, you want to continue?
Not only was she beautiful, but she was a dynamo. She was so much fun to be with. She added so much to every occasion. And every time she came in to visit from Chicago, she came to Long Island, she would always make an extra effort to visit and spend time with us. And we just adored being with her and her beautiful family, of course. And, you know, we will treasure the memories forever. We miss you and we love you.
We certainly do.
Being a survivor means accepting that which you cannot control and forgiving yourself, letting go of all you could have and should have been and done, and focusing on the gift that is today. It's allowing your physical being to come into resonance with itself and letting harmony work its own magic.
Hi, it's Cousin Michelle. Rachel, I miss you already. You taught me what it's like to never give up, to be true to yourself, and to go after what you want. I learned so much from you in other ways too, just through the special moments that we had together. I remember watching you get ready for concerts after holiday meals and thinking, wow, she's the coolest. And then when I was in junior high school, you invited me to stay over in the city with you, and I thought I was the coolest. We were both right, I think. Of course, I don't play the guitar, but one can always hope. I remember in the city when I moved in and we became neighbors on the Upper West Side, you showed me around and took me to Citrus, which became one of my favorite places. I remember when you met Dan and I sat for the cats. I took their poopy outside and I got locked outside. But that's another story. We had a good laugh about that. And you're super, of course. I remember your wedding and meeting Ben and Jack and getting to see them grow up a little bit. And I'm so thrilled that you and Greg got to know each other and bond over your love of the Grateful Dead. I love that you got the chance to meet Olivia and Sydney. And one of my most recent fondest memories was you playing the guitar with Olivia and Adam at Adam and Susan's house not that long ago. So much life advice on being a working mom, meeting someone later on in life, and having your kids later on. And there was just so many beautiful moments that will sit with me and that I will share with my girls and that I will share with anyone that will listen probably. That's not true, just my girls, because I'll keep it in the family. But I love you, I miss you, and just thank you for being a light in my life.
This is Cousin Robbie. I like to share some wonderful memories growing up with Rachel. I remember when my parents and my Aunt Mel, Uncle David, and Adam, we used to go like to their house for the holidays, like Thanksgiving, Passover, and when they came out to my house for the holidays, it was fun, and Rachel was wonderful. I remember she was like always there for you, and I remember she went to one of my birthday parties when I was growing up, and it's amazing how she married a wonderful cousin Dan and the two wonderful boys, Ben and Jack. And I would just say she's just a very wonderful, positive person. She plays the guitar, and I know how she always says, "Yeah, baby," and I was laughing. I know that means she always has a good sense of humor as well. So, Rachel there, I love you very much.
Hi, my name is Stacy Weiss Walden, and I represent Rachel's post-college years in New York City. We met at Condé Nast magazines. She was like a big sister to me.
showing me the lay of the land, how to navigate the subway system, offered great restaurant recommendations. She had the best New York City mentality. She'd say things like, "Don't ever give up the lease on a rent control apartment, Stace." Something that linked us together forever was our family tie. Rachel saw my mom's high school graduation ring on me. I used to wear it, and she read the words Long Beach and asked me if it was Long Beach, New York, or California. And when I said New York, where Rachel's mom grew up, we put our heads together. It turned out that my father, Bill Weiss, was best friends with Rachel's uncle, Steve Wolfenstein, Wolfie. So that sealed the deal. It linked us together in a bond that was almost biological now. It didn't matter where in the world we each landed, we had a tight knot of sisterhood that wrapped us together. Fast forward a few years, I'm in San Francisco with my husband Eugene, and I'm still in publishing, but in the evening I'm a singer-songwriter, which inspired Rachel. Rachel meets Dan. She sought long and hard for Dan Rosen. Rachel asked me to do their wedding program. In fact, she seated and greeted my wedding guests with programs a few years before. We each had wedding day duties for one another. Another lasting keepsake for me is the Rosen wedding compilation of music. So the four of us just hit it off immediately. And after a quick stint in New York City, they found themselves moving to California. Now there were 2 Long Beach, New York descendants on the West Coast. We started to have babies, and there were several visits. Then they moved back to Chicago in around 2007, and we remained in the Bay Area. Throughout Rachel's illness, we wrote to each other and called, and I went out there. She came here. We jammed together. She always talked about the importance of a holistic approach to health and disease prevention. She fought a battle unlike anyone else I've ever known. Her passing is overwhelmingly painful to everyone, and there's not a day that goes by that we all don't think of her and swell with love for that woman. She once wrote to congratulate me on something, and she said, "You're a friend of so many years whose spirit I have always admired, but I guess I've always seen myself as a big sister, and as such, your joy and success is truly my own." Rachel knew the truest meaning of friendship, of unconditional friendship. She was a selfless mother to Benjamin and Jack, and wife to Dan, and daughter, sister, auntie, sister-in-law, colleague, an amazing boss, a fabulous musician. I would call her a comic, comedian, a writer, a best friend. Every time I sip red wine, or I sing a Van Morrison song, or I spot Frank Lloyd Wright architecture, visit a museum in New York City, or see Billy Crystal in a movie, Rachel's going to be right there next to me. She wrote to me, I will overcome all of this weight and fly above it all.
Being a survivor is the realization that while no one can take on the burden of running the race that is the fight for your own life, you can allow others to take the baton from you and continue the race while you battle the invisible enemy. Thank you very much for letting me be a part of your relay for life.
Today, we stand at one of life's most natural and unnatural moments. We are mourning one whom death has taken for us. This we know is the way of nature, that all people who are born will die, and all living beings will succumb to death. But knowing that death is a natural part of life brings little comfort. In Judaism, we appreciate that our ancestors understood this and recognized its reality, that death is the end of all that lives. And throughout the ancient texts in Judaism, our ancestors spoke of death, how to confront it and struggle with it in many different ways. They didn't shy away from its reality nor its impact on us. It is written in Ecclesiastes, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to weep and a time to dance, a time to mourn and a time to laugh, a time to embrace and a time to let go, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time for silence and a time for speech, a time to be born and a time to die." Dan, to lose your wife, your soulmate, your life's companion, your love, someone with whom you shared so much joy. A blessed and happy marriage, you have lost a huge part of your life. In the years you spent with Rachel, you created a family, a legacy, a bond that was very special, and there are no words to convey the loss that you and the boys have endured. And to her children, Benjamin and Jack, to lose such a beautiful and kind soul, there are no words. We can only support you during this prolonged, difficult time. Please know that your family and the friends who have journeyed here this day are here for you, not just today, but for your entire life. Turn to your friends and family and community, for indeed our hearts go out to you, and we seek to support you through the darkest of times. Please know that Rachel had always dreamed of having children, and you fulfilled her dream. You are the legacy that she leaves to this earth, and I hope you know that she adored and cherished you. To her brother Adam, I hope you will always remember the wonderful memories you created together. That which you created with your sister is unique, a bond to be cherished and valued. And to Rachel's mom, Marilyn, this is not the natural way. A parent should never have to suffer the pain of losing a child. We are all sad that you must bear the grief, for the death of your daughter is indeed a tremendous loss. And though she is now silent, allow her love and support to echo inside you always. You were truly a light in her life as well. And to all of Rachel's friends who are here, through the good times and bad, you built a relationship with Rachel that transcends even death. Though the fabric of our lives have been torn, the memories that you made and hold can never be erased. They are all yours to keep. This poem was written by Merritt Malloy. It says, "When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes, not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away." Death took from among us one whose life intertwined with our own. Rachel's death left us weak and breathless. We were numbed by its reality, and then it was compounded by the onslaught of COVID-19, which further separated us from one another and robbed us of the opportunity to truly celebrate the beautiful soul that she was. Today, we get the opportunity to voice our grief, to celebrate her life and to mourn her death. Her death silenced us with its power to take from us without concern our pain, an amazing woman that we cared and loved. We can all heal and touch each other's hearts today by sharing our memories of the person she was and who all of us are as a result of her being on earth for such a seemingly short period of time. So to offer us their memories and their words, I invite forward at this time Rachel's friends from New York, Marjorie Adler and Erica LaChant.
Hello, friends and family of Dan and Rachel. I'm Marjorie.
And I'm Erica.
I knew Rachel first. She and I met in 1987. What did I say? Oh. I did. I think I met her other than her family before most people here. My nickname for her was Cha-Cha.
And then circa 1996, Marjorie set me up with Rachel, and she became my partner in crime. I called her Pookie. I don't know why.
You heard on our videos how we spent our single years together with Rachel. We partied, traveled, commiserated, laughed, and cried. You heard how much we admired her and how much we loved her dearly. The thought of a world without her was and still is inconceivable. Now, a year and a half has gone by, and as we knew we would, we miss her even more profoundly than we thought.
When I'm in the car and I hear, "At last, my love has come along." Not bad, right? I immediately think of
bad.
Rach. It was good. I smile, I shed a tear, and I feel like she came for a little visit, like we actually spent time together.
2 weeks ago, my husband and I saw Max Weinberg, and when he did 10th Avenue Freeze Out, I literally felt Rachel's presence. She swaying to the rhythm of the music while I awkwardly clapped out of tune.
But every cloud has a silver lining, and ours is the very special relationship that we're building with Ben and Jack. We have a standing Thursday night date, and along with Jill, we FaceTime with them, and we just talk.
We talk about them, we tell stories about us, and invariably we talk about Rachel. This week we're going to try something new, and we're going to play trivia. And through these two terrific boys, we see her. Ben not only looks like Rachel, but he has her intensity. And you may know that. And through Jack, we are reminded that Rachel was a critical observer and often a very, very witty one. We are so fortunate that we're getting to know two really outstanding young men, as well as their very menschy dad.
Ben, Jack, we look forward to watching you grow and flourish, and we'll always be here to cheer you on, to be your sounding board, and if we're not overstepping our bounds, to provide you with loving maternal advice. The foundation your mother gave you is stronger than you know now, but the older you become, the better you'll understand just how strong it is. And through our relationship with you guys, let's work together to keep your mom, our Rachel's memory alive.
So to Rachel's three guys, we love you so much, and we'll be here for you always. We promise.
I invite forward to speak at this time Rachel's friend from Chicago, Madrid Bates Kaufman.
I may pass out. Okay. Terry promised she would read if I passed out, so. From the moment I laid eyes on Rachel, I couldn't wait to know her. She was simply the coolest ever. I know I don't need to tell anyone here that. Totally in her element with her dear friends on stage at the Abbey. I took this picture at that moment. This was my very first impression of her. Rocking out with the biggest smile. I was totally smitten. It has been difficult to find the right words to express my love for Rachel and what she has meant and still means to me, and obviously to so many of you who are here today to celebrate this amazing woman. In the past, it would have been Rachel herself whom I would have reached out to for a pep talk, a confidence boost, an assurance that I can do it, that I can summon the words and the sentiment needed to tell you all how special she was to me. And to touch that part in your hearts where your love for her resides. I've sat quietly, trying to listen to what she'd say, not just for this tribute, but for so many things in my life. In the 5 years after meeting her, I found an adult best friend. I use the word best in the purest way. Have the hard conversations, bare your souls, reveal your real self, laugh your asses off together, and love the trueness of who someone really is way. Not very easy to find after the age of 14, especially for women. I know she had many best friends. She had enough space in her giant heart to love so many. And I know I am in good company with many of her little sisters, the Satsangs, the Floodwaters, and her childhood besties. The thing is, I loved the me that Rachel saw. Who knew I could be cool? She actually thought so. She looked past my flaws and insecurities, but wasn't shy about talking them through. She had this unique way of drawing out my better parts. And getting to know many of you more, especially in the past year and a half, I've come to learn that this was a true superpower of hers. She saw the best in many of the people she loved, even and especially when we couldn't see it ourselves. And she wasn't afraid to call it out when we weren't living up to that. In her own way, it wasn't judgmental, but it was firm and determined and caring. It's funny how things work out, how the universe provides in ways we don't understand at the time. In March 2019, the project I had been working on ended, and that gift meant I had time on my hands at the moment my friend needed me, and I needed her. One of the nights she was at my house before a treatment day, she told me it was okay to be sad. It was okay for me to cry. I hadn't. I have made it up for it since. The only thing she didn't want was my pity. Do not pity me, she said. Such a distinction that I had to ponder how to have empathy and compassion for her journey without feeling pity. My best understanding of this difference came when I realized that instead of the disease, I chose to see the health in Rachel every chance I could. Even when things were very dark for her, and the days when she knew she'd be leaving us soon, but was fighting so hard to stay, she always still asked how I was doing. Her classic, "You good?" How did she do that? How was she able to have the selflessness to genuinely be concerned about others, given what she was enduring? It was so beautiful to witness her compassion for her loved ones. It's something I choose to try to emulate. I don't know if it was her years of knowing that her time here was limited, or if she was just always that wise. But I do know that she possessed a knowledge and an insight into herself, her friends and family, our country, and the world that was very unique and quite special. I am forever grateful that I was able to witness and be a recipient of that wisdom. So now I ask myself, what would Rachel say? Besides, for the love of all things holy, Madrid, please only wear colors that are actually in nature. Wear her red shoes anytime I'm feeling them, even and especially at a celebration of her life. I can barely walk in them, though. And get your butt up there and talk from the heart. How would she advise me at this point in my life? How would she care for and counsel her friends and family? Stand up to bullies in the community and the country. Speak up for the rights of women. Dance in the kitchen. Rock the hell out of that electric guitar. Cherish her friends. Nurture Hillary and Amy through their future endeavors. Adore, guide, and celebrate Ben and Jack on their paths. And love Dan through and through, even during the toughest conversations and the unimaginable decisions. What example can I continue to follow from this woman who is stronger than strong in the face of a journey none of us can truly know? Where do you put your gaze, Madrid? Choose the good in others, to see the wellness as often as you can. In the quiet moments, I pray her love and wisdom continues to shine through all of us who knew her so we can continue in her glowing example. We love you, Rachel. And I just know she'd say to all of us her signature, I love you more. Oh, I love you more. Thank you.
I invite forward at this time Rachel's niece, Hillary Geiger.
Hello there. So for anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Hillary Geiger. I was Rachel's eldest niece. To this day, it is hard for me to talk about her without getting emotional, which is why at first I was hesitant to speak. But after thinking about it and knowing that it would bring me just a little closure, here I am. I sat on the plane on Friday thinking about her, writing, editing, rewriting my thoughts, and when we landed, an overwhelming feeling of sadness and reality hit me. I have not been in Chicago since 4 days before Aunt Rachel passed away, since we said our goodbyes. Not a day goes by where I do not think about her, get sad about the fact that she is no longer with us, or watch videos I recorded of her and my dad playing guitar and singing along to one of our favorite Pink Floyd songs. So I could just hear her voice again. If you want to see those videos, I have them. It is no secret that she and I were incredibly close, from the amount we spoke on the phone to how much we looked alike. To see an example, come see me after. I don't like to choose favorites, but everyone in my family knows she was my favorite. She was who I would go to tell pretty much anything. We spoke on the phone multiple times a week. One thing she used to do while on the phone with me when I was very little was sing I Know an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly by Peter, Paul, and Mary. I used to love when she sang that to me. As I got older, she and I spoke about anything from my major in college to boys and everything in between. Our conversations lasted anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour and 5 minutes. I treasured every single one of them. Aunt Rachel was one of my biggest inspirations. I am sure I am not the only one that felt that way about her. She fought like hell, she loved hard, and when she fought cancer, she did it with courage, strength, grace, and a bit of humor. Of course, she had my uncle as her support person, as well as her boys. I remember when I first met my Uncle Dan. Of course, it was before he was officially my uncle. As soon as I saw them together, I knew that whatever came their way, good or bad, they'd be able to handle it, no matter how difficult it got. I remember when he told me he wanted to marry my aunt, and when he asked if I would be okay with it. And I got super excited. Uncle Dan is one of the most fun people to be around, and I am both grateful and glad that you were by Aunt Rachel's side when she needed you most. Ben and Jack, no matter what, I will always be there if you need to talk or just blow off steam. I am sure your mom would be proud of you both. One of the things I regret most is not being able to express to my aunt the last time I saw her, a few days before she passed away, how grateful I was and still am for her and everything she did for me. I didn't thank her for those laughs, the conversations, the motivation, and being the inspiration she always was to me. So now I want to say thank you. Uncle Dan, thank you for loving Aunt Rachel the way you loved her. I cannot put myself in your shoes and begin to understand what it is like to lose your significant other. But I know that she loved you more, and though she is not with us, her love will always be a part of you and the boys. In closing, last March I got a tattoo as a tribute to my aunt. All my tattoos have significant meaning, and this one is no different. I never got a chance to show her the finished product, but I know she would have loved it. It is a breast cancer ribbon with a heart, her initials, and the words she would always say to me when we ended our phone calls or visits. I love you more. I know she will always be a part of me and always has a special place on and in my heart. Thank you.
I invite forward at this time Amy Geiger.
toughest cycles to break are those where you move without thinking, aimlessly productive without any awareness of the moment. It is all too easy to find yourself in these places. Often you only realize the sheer lack of awareness when it's too late, when moments have passed and you've moved on and can't rack your brain for pieces to cling to, sights or sounds to savor. My Aunt Rachel always appeared to live like this, but in the best way possible. She didn't kvetch like I did, rarely dwelled on things she didn't say or didn't do. It's because she did them. She said them. She had no time not to live fast, not to be the one through which family and friends of friends live vicariously. After she was diagnosed with breast cancer in her early 40s and with the cancer jumping from stage 0 to stage 4 2 years later, when I was 10, she just went. She joined a band and performed. She got her yoga teacher certification. She built a collection of hats so formidable the Queen of England would be jealous. She got a light purple wig and named it Lavender Sachet, and before she went out to dinner in Chicago, she'd yell through the house about how she was breaking out Ms. Lavender. Her energy scarcely faltered, and her wit could not be dulled. Cancer came and went in her skin, in her lymph nodes, and eventually in her brain. But more often than not, you just couldn't tell. It wasn't just that she pushed on. She did it with grace and ease. She gained purpose and perspective through the illness, but it didn't make her uptight or afraid. She stayed bitingly honest, terribly loud, and wildly funny. She walked with the same flowy, free-spirited confidence she always did. Her skinny frame was relaxed, leading from the hips, laid back and infectiously cool. Her blog was called You Picked the Wrong Body, but strangely, I can't fathom anyone who could kick cancer's ass like her. So that was from something that I wrote for a class actually last April, 3 months after she passed. I didn't get to say a lot of this to her about how much she meant to me. But one thing that we did share was a deep love of music, and so I thought I'd share some notable songs and moments. And there are obvious ones, like Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, and Times Like These by Foo Fighters, which you may know from when she performed them at her 50th birthday. I did not get to be there because I was 14. But I heard her banging away and practicing, and my dad too. Grateful Dead's Truckin', which captured her party spirit, and Steely Dan's Reelin' in the Years, which was the first thing she played when she figured out the speaker system at the house that we stayed in at the Berkshires. There are less obvious ones, You and Me, the second song on that trip, Pearl Jam's Just Breathe, which we all listened to a lot after my papa passed in 2013, Caring is Creepy by the Shins, which is from the movie Garden State. She insisted that I watch, and I proceeded to be obsessed with it my entire sophomore year of high school. And then there's the newer ones that are new to me at least, many of which we can't connect on together, but I listen to them and I think of Rachel warmly. Joni Mitchell, The Strokes, Courtney Barnett, and even the Beatles. I have a newfound appreciation. Aunt Rachel, I love and miss you greatly. I wish you were here to have a joint with me, to tell me what to do as I move into my Brooklyn apartment, to give me a hug, to just give me that look that lets you know that you're proud of me and that you're always watching. I love you greatly. Thank you.
I invite forward Rachel's brother, Adam Geiger.
Yes. I do not have written notes. I'm best this way. I'm going to give a little change of pace. Everything that's been said, been seen, been cried, been laughed, it's all true, okay? A couple things that we were heard earlier, not quite true, okay? There are two people in the room that knew Rachel before Marjorie. Okay? I'm one of them, and the other one is sitting over there, and she knew her for about 2 days or 3 days before I did. okay? This, you heard Steve Wolfenstein, my uncle, talked about taking photographs and so on. This is it. That's the picture that he took and then taught his class about, okay? Do you know what it's like to be the older, kind of socially awkward brother of that? Okay? Right? It's essentially the same personality for all 55 years. Okay? We would drive, and there's a bit of a tradition in our family too. When my father turned 50, we roasted him. We roasted the shit out of him. And she was the ringleader. So she's just going to get a little, posthumously, she's just going to get a little bit of what she had given. So when we were little, my mother had relatives in the middle of nowhere, New Jersey, Lakewood, Tom's River. Remember, Mom? And we would be, put into the car and given toys or whatever, and we would have to do this 2-hour drive from Massapequa to Lakewood. And invariably, Rachel and I would butt heads. We were 3 1/4 years apart. She was that. I was just, kind of whatever. And she would start fights. She would want the toy. She would want this. She wants that. And invariably, of course, who started it, according to her? I did, right? So, Mom, I'm promising you right now, I never hit her over the head with the Etch-a-Sketch. I really didn't. I didn't. And I don't know, I don't know how long it took me to live that down. Let me give you some more perspective about Rachel, early Rachel. She was energetic. She was a great dancer, as we've heard before. But she was not a cheerleader. She was actually what they called a chiefette. The chiefette was the kick line team. And she couldn't be bothered being a cheerleader because the chiefettes at Massapequa High School were actually the cool kids. And so Rachel joined the chiefettes. Did she ever get to the captain, Mom? I don't know. She was very important at one point. Okay. So she was popular. She was a dating machine. I dated 2 women in my entire life, married the second one. She went out with future movie stars. Granted, he's a B or C list movie star, but at least he was a movie star. She dated billionaire scions, so she dated guys who were from very, very wealthy families. She used to talk to me about this kid and said, he's such an asshole, but boy, does he have a lot of money. She dated someone who would become a doctor. She bartended at one of the hottest bars in Manhattan for a number of years, called Crossroads. I don't know, was there a picture of her wearing the hat? I don't remember. Yes. Two guitars crossed together. I don't know if her bandmates have ever seen her wear the Crossroads hat, but one of the hottest bars in Manhattan, Rachel bartended at. She did look and look and look for the right guy. And she finally found him, and she did find the right guy. And we're all super thankful for that. Rachel and I had an interesting relationship as adults. It improved as time went on. And while everybody here has talked about and has experienced how tough she was and how she was going to fight and fight and fight, I knew she loved me when she told me that this fucking sucks. Because she knew that I could take it. And she knew that somehow that shoulder that she used to lean on after she picked fights with me was always going to be there. And that strength, that authenticity, that warmth, and just reality is what I will always take. I will miss her, but I carry her with me every moment of my life. Thank you.
At this time, I invite forward Rachel's mom, Marilyn Geiger. Lynn, do you want me to bring you the microphone? Okay.
Thank you. Hi. I'm Marilyn Geiger, AKA Bubby. I am very proud to call Rachel my daughter and my friend. She is the warrior queen because she fought so long and so hard to beat the bitch, and I never asked.
That's okay, Mom. We can't leave your hand out of you.
Whatever. Oh, she never asked why me. So many have been helped in their struggle after reading her blog. She became a certified yoga instructor to teach cancer patients the benefits of the discipline. I am very grateful to Dan for leaving no stone unturned to find a path to remission and for extending her life with love and compassion. I love my Rosen men. On a lighter note, Rachel dealt with boredom from the age of 2. No joke. When she graduated BU as a finance major, her first job was entry level at the Bank of New York. Day 3, I got a call at work. I am not going back after lunch. I am so bored, I can't stand it. I tried to reason with her. She did not return and became the bartender at Crossroads. It is a testament to who she was when friends from nursery to new bandmates and all those in between love her. Rachel loved to have fun and celebrate. Some years her birthday party lasted from 3 to 5 days. Truly, her spirit is here with us. She would never miss a party of this magnitude. She walks silently among us. There are no words to express my sadness and grief. Rachel is in my heart and mind, always. Her forever gift to me are Dan and Ben and Jack, my heart's delight. I'd like to share a poem with you, if I may. At the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember her. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember her. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember her. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember her. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember her. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember her. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember her. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember her. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember her. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember her. As long as we live, she too will live, where she is now a part of us as we remember her. Thank you.
Thank you, Bubby. I invite forward at this time Rachel's sons, Ben and Jack Rosen.
Thank you all for coming to celebrate and remember my mom. Jack and I are not good at public speaking, but we know my mom would want us all to let you know that we would want us to let you all know how much we loved her and how much we miss her. So here we are. My mom lived with cancer since I was very little. I don't remember a time before she had it, but she rarely complained or talked about her struggles with cancer. So she missed her hair, but it was something she dealt with and never let it affect how she interacted with me and Jack.
Well, however, one funny story of how it was different growing up with a mother who had cancer was that cannabis, aka pot, was in our house all the time. Even so, I never remember seeing her high.
Okay, one time.
Well, we don't talk about that. Well, it was just another example of how she kept the cancer from affecting how she was a mother to me and my brother. But I do remember once, when we were on vacation in Mexico, she brought a chocolate candy bar with her from home that was infused with THC. She wanted to make sure I didn't eat it, so she told me it was in the refrigerator. A moment after telling me, my brother yells from across the room, "Wait a minute, does this mean Mama smuggled pot across the US-Mexico border?" Yes, she did. She was more interested in trying to manage her health than she was concerned with the feds. I am lucky to have been her son, and am honored to call her mom.
I also remember that she had a tendency to yell. She yelled way more often than my dad, but it was never as scary. Even when she was yelling, I felt her love, and I miss it all the time. If she were able to hear me today, I just want to tell her, thank you for being my mom. I miss you, I love you, and I will always try to live my life in a way that would make you proud. Thank you.
And finally, I invite forward Rachel's husband and soulmate, Dan Rosen.
I'm going to need these. I can't do what Adam did. Oops, let me take this off. Oh, that was quite the speech. Everybody, thank you all for those up till now. And thank you all for coming and helping me and my boys finally be able to properly celebrate and remember my wife, their mother, Rachel. Before I get started, let me mention and thank a few people who have really been invaluable in helping put this event together. First, Amy McConnell for all the beautiful flowers and arrangements. Stephanie Worgan, please. Stephanie Worgan, please, for all your help in planning both this and the fundraising memorial we had earlier this summer. In fact, all of Satsang, you guys were, Amy, Stephanie, Dana, Steinecker, you were all invaluable with your counsel early on, right after her death when we first started planning this event for April of 2020. Thank you. Andrea's here. Thank you for arranging and designing and providing the memorial guitar picks. They're beautiful. If everyone should get one, they're up there on the bar. It's a truly appropriate keepsake. Beth, thank you for jumping into action and producing the programs at the very last minute. It was a Bubby requirement, I should say. And we couldn't say no to, so thank you. And my sister Catherine, thank you for executing the Zoom broadcast of the event and getting the producer for this, and those are skills that I do not possess, and they're not truly supported by the facility, so thank you. I also want to thank Catherine for producing that excellent video that we saw at the beginning. That was her production, with the help of everybody who produced a video vignette. My sister's got some skills. And if anybody wants to see that again, it will be playing. After this event, we're going to get a TV set up, and it will play again. So I think a lot of people missed the beginning and may have missed some pieces of it. They can see them again after the ceremony is over. I want to thank all the friends and families that sent in pictures and video tributes. I lost track of a couple of these videos in the past year and a half, but please know that even if you didn't see them in that version of the video, I appreciate very much those efforts in getting them made. So those have been some excellent remembrances from Marjorie and Erica, Madrid, Amy, Hillary, Adam, Marilyn, and Jack. Thank you. You make me even more proud to be married to this woman and to have had these two fantastic sons. Okay, well, if I've learned nothing in my 55 years, I have learned that our time here is limited. So let me get on with talking about Rachel. I stand here with the job of humbly trying to pay tribute to an incredible woman's life, to summarize her nearly 56 years, and to help us properly mourn this tremendous loss we all feel. These are no small tasks. How can I possibly pay tribute to this amazing woman in a 5 or 10 minute eulogy? And where do I start? I could start with a list of titles that she held. She was an amazing mother, daughter, sister, aunt, friend, teacher, cancer warrior, music lover and musician, neighbor, bandmate, counselor and therapist, co-worker, boss, and wife, and so much more. But those titles by themselves don't get to the heart of what made Rachel special. So, what to talk about, where to start? Maybe instead of the titles, I should start with the stories about how she was the cornerstone of our family, the best wife a man could ask for. And maybe I should tell stories of the way she handled her role as a loving and deeply devoted mother to Ben and Jack, both of whom she adored more than anything. Somewhere I need to mention her role in the larger Rosen family as daughter-in-law to my mom, Mary, and sister-in-law to Dave, Karen, Amy, and Catherine, and how she fundamentally changed and, in my humble opinion, significantly improved the whole Rosen family dynamic. Before she joined my family, I need to remember that she was first a loving daughter to Marilyn and David, sister to Adam, and favorite aunt to Hillary and Amy, all of whom, as you can tell, greatly loved, cherished, and miss her. The role she played in that family was as the adventurous, risk-taking extrovert, as they pointed out. She abandoned Long Island for New York and beyond. But then again, there are lots of people who are influential, loved, cherished, irreplaceable within their own families. One of the things that made Rachel special was the way she fostered and fundamentally affected her relationships outside of just the family. There are her amazing and innumerate friends, both local and spread across the country. We've got them here from Marin County, California, and San Francisco, Florida, New York, Los Angeles, all across the country. She formed resilient and important bonds with people everywhere she went. Fast friend is a term you hear used about her a lot. A lot of people consider her just that, their fast friend. Closer to home, on her own Rex Boulevard, she played the role of everything from design consultant to marriage counselor to party planner and hostess, and simply just friend and confidant. When I mentioned, I need to mention that she was also a valued member of the Berkeley Book Club, a club she cherished and felt so lucky to be invited into by Denise Mason Smith and her friends. She loved those gatherings, which fulfilled an intellectual and social side of her that motherhood to two young sons sometimes couldn't. I need to mention her influential and always interesting career in advertising, marketing, and production. With Kirschenbaum and Bond, Wieden and Kennedy, she worked at Disney Store, Robbins Brothers, Allstate, and my favorite, Nine West. I'll tell you about why Nine West was so good later. But Yeah, and while that work resume by itself is impressive, I left out her favorite job as color and design consultant at Westmont Paint. That was her final job. She loved spending time with the women of Westmont Paint and helping their customers figure out how to make their homes beautiful. She loved those women. I also need to mention that while I'm going through at least one and maybe two separate rounds of chemotherapy, she was learning to teach yoga at Prairie Yoga. And that group meant the world to her, and there's a book up there with some of those women in it, and it's a part of her life I didn't see into, I didn't get to be part of, but it meant a lot to her. And let's not forget her life as a rock star, which began at her 50th birthday party. I think many of you were there, where she first played publicly. Initially, she played with a band that was hired to play at the party, and then she played with her brother Adam. Many of you were there for that, and I'm sure you remember that party and that performance. That night led to a conversation with her friend, neighbor, and adopted little sister, Steph Organ, and on to their beloved School of Rock, and then Floodwaters, their band. Rachel reveled in performing live. She loved it each and every time. One of her favorite nights in her entire life was that night at the Double Door. Ask her bandmates about it. They'll tell you stories. And sadly, I also need to weave in her inspirational and tragic journey of her life with HER2-positive metastatic breast cancer, which she lived with for over a decade. She would intermittently blog about her experience in order to give those friends and family that were spread across the country a peek into life and that journey. There is so much that woman did every day, and most of this while waging her battle with breast cancer and while battling depression. And even with that, just that, and those list of titles, and that outline of who she was, it is my poor luck that these were only the parts of her life that I was privy to. You see, I was late to the Rachel Geiger name. I didn't meet her until we were in our mid-30s. As Marjorie, Eric, and Adam have already discussed, there was lots of good parts before I was there. What I could tell you about is, before we had met, she had already completed Massapequa High School, where she was a National Merit Scholar, and where she wrongly thought of herself as a geek. And after Massapequa, she graduated from Boston U with a BA in finance, and accumulated all sorts of new friends that lasted a lifetime. You heard about her starting her career in finance at Bank of New York. She quickly realized that wasn't for her. Marilyn's story she lived that. She got her next job after the Crossroads was as a runner at one of the largest New York ad agencies, Kirshenbaum & Bond, and she worked her way up within that agency and eventually landed a job as director of production at 9 West. That's when I get to meet her. During these pre-Dan years, though, she made a deep impression on friends, colleagues, and innumerable men. There are lots of good stories about pre-Dan Rachel. Yes, she was amazing long before I met her, but her friends and family from New York are the ones that you got to go to for most of those stories. And I encourage you to seek out Marilyn and Adam, Eric and Marjorie, Tracy, who's here from Florida. They've known her much longer than I got to. The farthest I can go back, though, is for firsthand storytelling. With my wife is the summer of 1999, when I was very lucky to meet Rachel in Syracuse, New York. And I say lucky because that's exactly what I was. You see, there was a wedding of Rachel's good friend, Jill Brodsky, to my good friend, Shimon Kahan. And it was taking place in Syracuse, New York. I almost didn't make it. I had recently moved back from my job in Moscow and was relocating that very weekend to my new job in Detroit. It was also a wedding that Rachel tells me she almost didn't make. I don't exactly recall the reason she said. She wasn't changing jobs or moving for anything, but I think it was because she had a couple dates maybe lined up in New York City for that weekend, and she had to disappoint them. But she did, thankfully. Anyway, I remember sitting in a pew next to my friend Dan Hakimian, who I haven't seen yet, but I think he's here, waiting for the wedding to start. And I spotted her coming down the aisle at the temple prior to the wedding begin. She had super short hair and a huge, beautiful brown eyes and a big smile, and she walked right up to us and asked if she could sit with us. At the time, I didn't know it, but she knew Dan from a ski trip Jill and Shimon had organized for friends the previous winter when I was still in Moscow. I just thought, maybe it was good luck. Maybe attractive women just gonna walk up to you and sit next to you at this wedding. This was a good wedding. Anyway. It was, in my opinion, a very good start to the evening. And while that fortuitous wedding was where we first met and first danced, because I was living in Michigan and she was in New York City, we didn't have our first real date for another 9 months or so. That date went very well, and after we dated for a few months, she visited me in Michigan, I her in New York, we met in DC, her job in 9 West took her to Jackson Hole, Miami, and I got to go visit her there. Those were fun. She moved in with me. I moved to Chicago soon thereafter, and she moved in with me. She moved from her apartment on the Upper West Side of 12 years into my loft in the Upper West Loop, and she brought with her 100 purses and handbags and about 150 pairs of shoes. Found a spot for them. We had a good year in the loft with several memorable parties. One that was particularly memorable was when she had her first chance to host my high school friends and their wives. Rachel, however, had 2 vodka martinis before dinner. And well, let's just say she missed a big part of the party. But Paul, Duke, Pete, Mark, Kevin, Dan, and their wives all told me later that they instantly loved her and that she was much cooler than anyone I should be dating, cooler than I'd ever be. Our courtship was pretty short, and once we got past a rocky month or two in the fall of 2000, some of you may remember, and once I realized I was not crazy to want to spend the rest of my life with this woman, it was easy at that point for me to finally commit and get engaged. It was the best decision of my life. We were married in the summer of 2002 on Long Island, New York, a perfect day, and another very memorable party. Thank you, David and Marilyn. And we moved from Chicago to New York shortly thereafter. She had our first son, Ben, in October 2003 in New York City. And a year and a half later, we relocated with the help of her close friend, Jane Lloyd, from New York to Pasadena. In January 2006, she had her second son, Jack, who we named to honor Jane's memory. You see, Jane had just recently passed away from her struggles with HER2-positive metastatic breast cancer. We both found Pasadena to be much nicer than we had expected, or nicer than we'd feared, but it never really felt like home. While nothing made her happier than being mother to her 2 boys, she didn't love her job as creative director at Disney, so we decided I'd take a job on the risk management desk of BP's trading group in Chicago, and she could focus on raising the boys and being closer to our family in Chicago. Shortly after the decision, after Jack's first birthday, and after she stopped breastfeeding, Rachel noticed a lump in her left breast. And so in the spring of 2007, when Ben was 3 and Jack was barely 1 year old, we were about to make a move from LA to Chicago. She began a battle with a disease that would, after another 12 years, eventually take her from us. Those of you who really knew Rachel, and that is most of you, I think, tend to describe her as smart, sexy, wise, tough, stylish, forthright, genuine. I think those all ring true. But those are some of the most common adjectives people use to describe her. But there's one that, when I first met her, I never really would have expected to be so high on my list of words. But in recent rereading her blog, and if you haven't read it, you should. There's a link provided in the memorial if you really need to look at her blog. In rereading it, I was struck by how relentlessly optimistic she could be in the face of metastatic disease. That woman, who endured several surgeries, countless infusions, both immunotherapies and conventional chemotherapies, frequently both, the relentless side effects, including the loss of her beloved hair numerous times. She participated in 3 clinical trials, endured skin mets to her beautiful skin that were relentless, and finally, she endured whole brain radiation and several gamma knife procedures. And that doesn't even take account the numerous physical and occupational therapy and rehabilitation sessions that followed all that. She was impossibly brave, inspirational, amazing, courageous, and despite the cancer and all the endless treatment, she was relentlessly optimistic. And this is what helps me not only deal with the tremendous loss of my wife, the best friend and life partner, but it also makes me relentlessly optimistic. Because if a human being that was dealing with all that Rachel was dealing with could still be such a wonderful person, make such strong and meaningful connections, and touch so many people, well, there is hope for us all. As I said once before, that was intended to be a small gathering shortly after her death in what became a packed real estate office in downtown Elmhurst on what was supposed to be her 56th birthday. Many of you were there. A lifetime is frequently measured in years, but watching Rachel navigate her life, complicated but not defined by metastatic breast cancer, that taught me that the number of years isn't a really useful measure. Rachel taught me that truly meaningful and complete life is measured in connections, relationships, and love. Making those connections, building those relationships, offering love, that takes hard work and can even be at times painful. But the effort is totally worth it, because even if we have the best of luck, all of us are here for too few years. Several have told me that you are, as I am, missing this amazing woman every day, and we will for the rest of our lives. I have no words to offer that can ease that burden, but you should know how lucky you are to have had someone that has earned that sort of remembrance in your life. We are all better off for having had that amazing and inspirational woman in our lives. Thank you for helping me celebrate that woman, and I will forever be proud to have called her my wife. Thank you.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Adonai natan va'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevorach. God has given, God has taken away, blessed be the name of God. Though death is strong, it can never take from you the memories you hold, the feeling you cherish, and the images forever etched upon your hearts and souls. Know that there were many more stories to tell and others who could have shared them with us, but we'll continue to share them, and by doing so, draw comfort from them. Call upon your memories, for through them you are forever bound to this woman for whom we gather to mourn today, and it is my hope that the legacy of love that she leaves to all of us will continue to inspire and guide us for all the days of our lives. And in this way, death cannot separate her from us, for when we remember Rachel's love, she continues to live on, even in death. If you are able to do so at this time, I ask you to please rise. El male rachamim, shochen ban romim, hametzei mechuna nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina, im kedoshim utahorim kizor harakia. Mazhirim et nishmat Rachel Leah bat David va Mari Asha shahalacha le'olama Be'al harachamim yastireha b'seter kanafav le'olamim. Vayitzror b'chtur hachayim et mishmata. Adonai hu nachalata v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava v'nomar amen. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah bi'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agalalu v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rama min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May all of you who mourn soon know comfort and peace, and we go now in peace to life, and let us say amen. This ends our formal service for Rachel, but we encourage you to eat and drink and tell stories and spend the night celebrating her memory. Thank you all for being here.
For all the times you breathed near me, laughed in my vicinity, I loved you in the moment and painted green on every tree. Lilacs blossom just for me. I loved you in the moment. Oh, don't ask me now. What's the difference anyhow? If it's true, then I will be true. I love you and me stuck in a tree. K-I-S-S-I-N-G. I love you in the moment and all the crap you put me through, things that I would never do. I love you in the moment. Oh, don't ask me now. What's the difference anyhow? If it's wrong, then I will be wrong for you. salt that's on your skin. The skin that I do wear, like cartoon underwear. Oh, please, what you do to me slowly, me slowly, me slowly, me and the bees do get jealous from the sweet honey love we make. And the birds ask me why I do not fly so fast and freely. 'Cause my partner in crime, we pass the time so slowly, so slowly. What makes your heart bigger than you? What makes your green eyes look so blue? And how can the time dare to pass by so fast when I spend that time on you? Oh, who's to say? There's no one to ask and no one to blame. Oh, all the same, I think it's nice when you say my name. What makes you look so hard that you cry? What makes you never tell one lie? And how can my smile get so damn wide whenever you're standing by my side? Oh, who's to say? There's no one to ask and no one would say. Oh, it might be strange, but I feel alright when you say my name. little bit.